If you've ever wondered what a flash of enlightenment feels like, keep watching. I'm going to share an experience I had on a bus one time that just might remind you of something that you've always known. By the way, I'm Michael Ravenwood, and I'm an empowerment coach that throws real lightning bolts. So if you like what I share in this video and you'd like to completely transform your experience in 90 days, go ahead and use the link in the bio or message me. And now, about enlightenment. So it was about 30 years ago. I was 19 years old and I was on a bus driving into the college where I was going to school at the time. And it was early in the morning. I was rubbing my face, kind of trying to wake myself up. And something reminded me that I had made love that morning. And I just got this warm, beautiful feeling inside. And I looked out the window at the giant redwood trees swaying in the wind. And something about the swaying of those trees and the rocking of the bus that I was in, and suddenly, bam. I was the bus, I was the people on the bus, I was the earth, I was the trees in the earth and the wind in the trees, and suddenly I was everything. And then bam, just as suddenly, I was back in my body. Now it was a timeless moment, and in certain ways it's impossible to describe, but there were several distinct things that happened for me, which can convey to some degree the experience. First of all, I understood that every moment of a mortal life is tinged with just a hint of fear. Fear that something outside us might hurt us, or something we have might be taken away. But in that moment, I realized something. I realized that all fear comes from the perspective that we are separate, but not also connected to everything. And in that moment, when I experienced myself as everything, suddenly all fear fell away, and what replaced it was a radiant bliss. A sense like I was penetrating and being penetrated by every point in time and space. Now, since then, I've had a chance to study quantum physics and wisdom traditions and understand that that is literally what is happening. But at the time, it was just this visceral experience of, for the first time, being completely beyond fear and in radiant bliss, because what could ever destroy you when you are the only thing that exists? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I completely redefined a word that actually meant quite a lot to me at the time. See, at the time, I was kind of a staunch atheist, and there was absolutely no way you could convince me that there was a God. But another realization had come to me in that moment, that the word God is just a noise that we make, and the thing that we're referring to when we make that noise is really what matters. Prior to that moment, I had used that word to refer to the imaginary man in the sky who wanted to punish me for any of my sins and throw me into a lake of fire if I just didn't believe the right things. But in that moment, I understood that there is nothing that is not God. And that's how I redefined the word for myself. And so I went from a person that couldn't possibly be convinced that there was a God into a person that, well, if you tried to convince me there wasn't a God now, I would just say, well, what's this reality thing then? So I just came to equate reality with God. And the third thing that happened is that I realized 99% of human culture would be totally different if people had had the experience that I had. All competition would be friendly. It would be collaboration all the way down, because hitting someone else in the face is just absolutely insane, because you're kind of hitting yourself in the face if everything is just one being, right? And so my mission in life became to convey this experience to other people, because I believe that it is with that one paradigm shift. If people just understood that they are part of one undivided being, they would just act in a way that is in accordance with that, and they would be kind and compassionate and cooperative, and this world would be a very different and beautiful place. So the two ways that I'm familiar with that a person can have this kind of experience are through plant medicine and breath work. Johns Hopkins University and MAPS, or the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, is doing some fantastic research. They're finding that, through the use of psilocybin mushrooms, many people are becoming aware of their transcendent nature in a similar way that I did on the bus, and that they are overcoming PTSD or even the fear of death if they're in late-stage cancer. And the use of psilocybin mushrooms for personal growth and development is becoming legal in more and more states in the US. But if you're in an area where that's illegal and unwilling to travel or just feel uncomfortable with it, there's also breath work. This method can also avoid the potential that people will use psychedelics or any other kind of medicines as a crutch. Holotropic breathwork therapy was developed by Stanislav Grof, who was one of the early psychotherapists to experiment with LSD. In his practice, he discovered that what might normally take people years to get over, sometimes they could get over in just months using judicious doses of LSD in a clinical setting. He developed holotropic breathwork therapy so that people didn't have to use medicines to achieve the same states of consciousness, which freed them from fear. So if what I shared in this video spoke to you, put awaken in the comments. If you put awaken in the comments, I'll know that my message landed. Or if you happen to be tired of the way that you're living and you want to completely transform your experience in 90 days, go ahead and use the link in the bio or message me.